here in Pasadena, they have a series there too, and he was speaking.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the Amundsen, I think it's what it's called, something like that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound familiar,
Yeah.
but yeah, I saw your picture with them, and then you also met Vince Scully too.
Vince Scully was it was last year as well. It was around like March.
Okay.
March of last year. I had to work an event, and so I needed to be present, and they were like, "Oh, we just need someone to represent our department." I was like, "All right, cool." So I'll come through. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, Vince Scully is here. He's gonna do like a little talk before he goes up and do his speaker series." And I was like, "All right, cool." And then I just like met him. Like,
those are two legendary people that you met, man.
yeah, man, it's crazy. It's when you're in the presence of people like that, you just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because you have like a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
kind of like at that point you're starstruck.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the
I
same.
hear what you're
you know,
saying.
it's like it's not normal, but they're very normal people.
Right.
You know, it's very like, you know, and it's because it's funny too because this is just their life at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just travel, they speak, and they meet people.
Yeah.
And people are always like very, very, especially out here in LA. It's very one of those things where,
legendary.
like,
That's crazy, man.
it's
To meet,
crazy.
like, imagine if you were one of those people, like if you were Kareem, or even like, okay, so Kareem's kind of a far stretch from a regular people like you and I, but Vince Scully, he's just an announcer, so to speak, right? So he doesn't have any, or was he like a professional athlete when he was younger?
No, I'm not totally sure.
So yeah, but think about like if you were Vince Scully, or say, you know, this podcast fucking blows up really huge, you know, and then I become something like I don't know, just a popular figure. And I think that like when you're at that level of recognition and then like people are coming up to you or whatever, but what's more interesting, I think, is being able to have the circle of influence that is at the same level as you are. I've always found that very fascinating because the people that you hang around with, you become like. So imagine like Vince Scully's friends. You know, they're all probably like high level people, probably. Yeah,
it's like the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Yeah,
are a direct reflection as to who you are as a person. That's what they say, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So, man, it's just interesting. I was having this conversation with my friend yesterday, too. I was thinking about Cristiano Ronaldo. You know who he is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus, that guy is, like, at the top of the world. And the, like, resources that he might have, that he has access to, it's like he could just do whatever he wants. And it's just a real interesting thing to think about people who are excellent at what they do.
Yeah. Well, remember when the lockdown happened for the NBA, like a few years back? And then everyone was practicing at LMU.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. Were you still there? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was the year after you graduated.
Probably.
It was the crazy. Like, you had Kevin Durant, you had Kobe.
What?
And everybody was just like,
I didn't hear this.
Yeah, everybody was taking pictures because nobody wanted to practice in like the UCLA facilities or USC facilities.
Why not?
Because they didn't want the attention. So they felt like LMU was very like quiet, suburban.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
dude, like, that's so cool.
That's crazy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, did you see them by chance?
Like driving off, but
driving off.
Yeah,
wow, that's cool.
They just came in, they used the training facilities, the gym, and
yeah. And it's so funny, like what you said about it's not normal to like be around them being like you or I, because we're just like quote unquote regular normal people, but they are regular normal people as well. You know, you think about their lives, they're human beings. You know, they take shits, they go to the bathroom, they need to eat, they do like everything that we do, except, you know, I think they found something that they enjoy, and they focused on it like crazy until they became really, really good.
Yeah, I think you have to be obsessed to a certain level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want greatness or you want to achieve something, you have to kind of obsess.
Yeah.
And you just kind of look at your work ethic, and it follows through.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
You know, because if you don't follow through, then you're not going to get to that level if that's where you're trying to get. If it's just a hobby, then that's different, you know?
Right. And I'm having a hard time with this podcast and being obsessed. Like, I'm not obsessed with it, and that sucks in some ways, but in a lot of ways it doesn't too, because I enjoy doing this a lot, and I want to get really good at it, and I want to get a lot of followers. But do I have to become obsessed? Well, maybe I do have to become obsessed if I'm not already like a celebrity who has a following that a lot of people will tune in to watch these episodes already. But yeah, so we'll see where this goes.
I think it's intent too, like what your motivation behind it really is. Like if you're trying to be famous, or if you're just trying to get some form of information, and use this as an outlet for people to use as a resource.
Yeah, well, that's more of it, but I think it's a combination of it, because eventually I would like to monetize this in one way or another. But my main reason for doing this is I've always been fascinated with like learning information and then like sharing that information with other people. So I would always do like these little videos on Facebook, or mainly on Facebook, and then just post them like 1 minute, 2 minute clips, 3 minute, 4 minute clips, or whatever. But I feel like this is a really fascinating project because it's just interesting. I like the setup, and I like having people to have a conversation with, because not everybody's going to relate to what I have to say. And so if I have another guest on, then people are more than likely going to be able to have an opportunity to relate to you if they can't relate to me.
Yeah, I think it's also about, like, exactly what you said. You just hit it. But I think it's also about what your current role is, like what you see yourself as like doing at the moment. Like, how do you see yourself as helping others?
Yeah.
And if you can help others and still monetize,
that's the way to go.
Great way to do it.
That's the way to go. Yeah. But I think that's the only way that people do monetize.
Yeah.
And because why would people watch your show if you're not providing some type of help to them? Say, for example, like the Kardashians. Oh boy, this is a good one.
That's a good combo.
That's
another episode.
like the Kardashians. Like when I watch it, I feel like my brain just kind of like goes into this like numbing mode, like this mindlessness. Like actually, I get kind of curious about it. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? I'm like, holy shit.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I'm like, what am I watching right now? I mean, this definitely looks fake. Like it doesn't look like a reality show.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't. It looks like it's
staged.
scripted. Yeah,
Okay.
It looks like it's staged. But there's nothing informative for me. It's purely entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that is the value that people, I think, get from it is entertainment, So I'm trying to find a balance between being entertaining and then also informative as well. And then combine the two, because I think that's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, that's exactly what the intentions are, is to be able to share information to help people make, I don't know, better decisions, or to feel better about their lives.
Sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to have you on because you're a creative character, and I think that's very, very important. It's like I see like your Instagram, you got these cool photos, you're doing your poetry, but also you're A&Ring. Is that a professional term?
I guess it depends on like what type of day or what time of day it is as well. Like if you ask me in the morning, like from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Like I'm a sales coordinator and strategist for CBS Radio. Well, it's now Intercom because of a merger that happened. And I work with different radio stations like K-Earth, The Wave, Jack, K-Rock, etc.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's different. And then outside of that, when I leave, then I might be writing, doing my thing. But I use writing more as like a hobby. Like I don't really want to monetize off of it. Like I just want to create, like develop a book, put it out, and if I get money for it, cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be my main source of income.
Gotcha.
It's just, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how many people can say they've written a book. You know what I mean? It's not because it's hard to do, but it's because it's like the commitment to it.
Exactly.
It's like, are you really going to commit to writing every day?
Yeah.
For 365 days?
Yeah.
And then multiply that by 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just look at the Harry Potter series. That's a commitment.
That is a commitment.
And I don't think she was thinking about monetizing off of it. I think she was just having fun with it. And then it became like a thing where like, oh, you know what? I can extend off of this. I can extend off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So if you start with that as your focal point, then I think you'll be good.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of like, think about it this way. Like, you ever see a movie, right? And you see the trailer for it, right? But you can't think about the trailer first. You know what I mean? You gotta create the product. You gotta create the movie first.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I think people jump ahead. They're like, this is what the trailer's gonna be, or this is the first single off an album. And just create the product first, and then extend from that point. I think that's kind of like the patience that you have to deal with.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with like getting like quick income, also getting like, you know, that satisfaction, like instant gratification, especially in our world where you see everything just Instagram, Facebook, you know, Twitter, and it seems fun, it seems cool, but I don't think people know how long or the heart it took to create.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think being creative is extremely important, because when you're able to create, you flex a certain set of muscles in your mind that I think allow for your life to be improved. Having creativity in your life, I feel like we are creators. Right now we're creating a conversation. You know, I got these videos up, and we're creating this basically content right now, and I really enjoy that. I also play music as well, so there's like everything can be a creative process, and I think that it's important to be intentional about your creativity. And while I'm creating this environment, it allows for other creative ideas to come into my head, and then it kind of just almost like snowballs. And do you ever feel that way, like your creativity leads to more creativity?
Yeah, I think everyone has the potential to be a creative. I think everyone is a creative, whether you want to tap into it or not. That's up to you. I mean, just think about it this way. Like if you're an educator, you're a teacher. I mean, you can go with the outline of a book and use that as a lesson plan, or you can storytell and explain to children, this is what happened in the 17th century, or this is how the Roman Empire collapsed. And if you can storytell that in a way that is intriguing and it's motivating, it's like you capture the images, et cetera, you're a creative. You're not a teacher at that point. You're a storyteller. Yeah. Or you just think about like doctors who operate and do surgery. There's a level of creativity that you use, you know.
Absolutely.
Like
100%.
Use your hands, you know what I mean? I'm sure I can't do that. I don't know if you can. You know what I mean? But it's
I'll kill somebody. I'll be like, oh.
It's a skill. Even with like, if you're a lawyer, convincing people is also an art form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think everyone has the ability to create. I think the next tier or the next level of that is whether you want to commit, and that's becoming an artist.
I like it. I like that a lot.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think, how much do you want to give the world of yourself? Like how much heartache do you want people to see? You know, it's crazy. Like, I don't know if you want to expose your secrets, you know, like the reality of the depression that you dealt with or anxiety you dealt with at one point. Like how much vulnerability are you willing to like tell people? Like,
that's a hard thing.
It's hard. I think it's hard. I think that's why people, as much as you want to clown on people like Drake, you know what I mean? But that's real life shit right there.
Yeah.
Because he gets clowned.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, Drake.
It's like, I mean, you got to think about it. Yeah, he's monetizing off of it, but he's also like letting it out.
Yeah. And that must be a hard thing to do. It's like, how much do you want, like even with this podcast, like we have the opportunity to be extremely vulnerable, to be extremely expressive, to talk about things that have pained us. And if that's important to talk about, then it should be talked about. But you got to ask yourself, like, how much, because once this is up, it's like everybody can see it. How, like, you know, you don't want to talk about, it's like a fingerprint. It's like people will like judge you by this. So to bring it back to Drake, when he has a song where he's like, talks about his dad, I think it's called 0 to 100, where he's like, he ain't show up, a valuable lesson, had to grow up. That's why I do it for myself. You know, that song. But he's like talking about he's basically talking bad about his dad. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm like, I, I don't know if I would be down to do that, because I'm sure your parents, just like my parents, are human beings and they all have flaws, just like you have flaws, just like I have flaws. So it's an interesting situation to talk about your vulnerabilities.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people use the terms like creative and artist very loosely, and they don't know the I don't know, the extent of how much you have to commit to something like that, like how much you have to give up to be that person. I think a perfect example is like Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Like he was doing it since he was a child, since he was like 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you go into his adolescence years, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like he has to deal with and talk about that because that's all he knows.
Right.
And, you know, that's his job. And then you move on to like his early 20s, et cetera, and like you're seeing a timeline. You grew up with this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you willing to do that?
Yeah. So in your mind, a creative is different than an artist. A creative is maybe somebody who is creative, like who just like kind of creates stuff, and then an artist is somebody who commits to that creativity. Is that?
I think it can go both. It can go both ways. But for me, I think, like I said, we're all creatives. Like we can all create. I think if you say, "Oh, I can't draw," nah, you never tried it. Maybe. You know, I think you're a creator. I think an artist is just like damn, like that's like your career. Like if
Gotcha.
you're calling yourself an artist, then that's like a big thing.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like that's like a commitment that's very like just laying it all out there. No judgment free. Because I can create and I can draw, but I don't have to show the world what I just created. You know, if I just do it for myself. You know, and artists can do the same thing, you know, but they're more willing and more okay with showing the people.
Gotcha.
That's how I see it.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a vulnerable situation because you're putting your expression, your creativity out there for people to judge.
That's why I tell people I'm more of a creative.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how much I want to tell people yet. Eventually, I'll tell people a lot of stuff that I feel like can benefit others. But for the time being, I just taking my time with it and pacing myself. And I kind of want to help others. That's where the A&R came from. You know, kind of want to develop and help other individuals kind of mold their artistry. You know, not kind of take over or control, but just kind of lead them this way or that way.
Yeah.
Based on what I feel like I know how to do. And there's an art form in that too, as well.
Sure.
So, like I said, you can always be a creative. You can always find creative ways to do your job.
Yeah.
Make it entertaining for yourself.
So your job, and you work for CBS.
Yeah, well, now it's Intercom, LA.
Intercom.
We had a merger. But I also do work for Homegrown Radio.
Homegrown Radio. Okay, where's that?
That's located in Inglewood. They started about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And they were some of the first, there was like the first team to actually promote TDE, Kendrick Lamar, on all those guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Nice. So you're meeting a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with one of the founders. He goes by the name of Chuck. And he was just telling me, like, yo, like, you just got to commit to it. And, like, you don't know what a year span can do to you.
Yeah.
You know, like, a year ago, I didn't know who you were. That's what he told me. You know what I mean? I just knew you were coming along for the events and et cetera, et cetera. And now I get to meet you, and I know your story, you know, in 5 minutes. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy how that works. So I kind of fell into that because at the time, this is like when I first started working at CBS, like 2015, I met this journalist. Her name's Liz. And she was like always going to shows, like the underground shows, the underground hip hop shows in like Santa Ana, Inglewood, LA, like over at the Echoplex, etc. She's like, oh, you should come through. And I was never really like fascinated by that. I was more like, I'm here to do my job, go home, eat, hang out with my friends. And like, you got to come out. I was like, all right, cool. And I started coming out slowly. And then she has her own show now that started in 2016. So she's been like pretty much holding it on for herself. Like she's interviewing a lot of people, up and coming artists, R&B, hip hop, different creatives, you know, in LA. They're keeping it in LA, but there's other people that they interview as well. And I kind of do like, I'm kind of like their creative director, consultant over there.
Nice.
So I do that on Wednesdays and kind of guide her and see like what she needs help with.
Very cool.
And so that's another commitment that I have. So like I told you,
Nice.
it depends what time of day, what type of week it is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like to hold myself to a title.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
same here, man.
Mhm.
Same here. I work a 9 to 5 as well.
Yeah.
Work at a corporate office, have a title
Yeah.
and all that. But I mean, I don't want to be defined by my title. I don't even want to be called a podcaster. I just want to be like a really good human being. And to me, I think being a really good human being is helping people in some way or another. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that a shit ton. And I think that having you on is important because I think that a lot of people, I like this conversation that we're having. It's really awesome to me. And I think that people will get either an idea or something from this that will spark an idea in their head, or some type of thing will go on that will allow them to take action or think a different way. And I believe this is positive, and I like having people who are positive on my podcast. And you're a positive person. You've always been a positive person, as far as I can tell. Whenever we would like be around each other at LMU, all smiles. Hey, what's going on?
We had good times.
Good times.
We had good times.
Yeah. It was all good times. I don't like have like one bad memory of like our interactions. So yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on podcast. You seem very interesting, but to talk about creativity. I think that's very important for people to express their creativity. Like find something that you enjoy to do, whether it's like I play the guitar. So I guess you can say I'm a creative at the guitar because I create music. I have literally composed songs and created them, created the lyrics, created the music. But and I think I've actually put that out there too, but it's I don't know, because I'm an extroverted person, I just kind of let things out. Yeah, but you know, it's for people who are watching, like find something that you like to do and create something, because I don't know what it is about creating, but it just makes me feel good to create. Because I think that many people go like you said, like they go home, they go to their work and they go home and that's about it. Like they go to work and kind of be in this routine, not really creating anything. It's just kind of, you already know how to do this, so there's nothing really creative about this. And then they go home and then maybe watch the Kardashians, and then there's nothing really creative about just watching the Kardashians. Like the Kardashians, they're creating perfumes and makeups and clothing lines and all that, you know. So maybe that's why it's interesting to watch them, because they are very creative, you know, despite all the hate that they get. But I think it's important, like find something, whether it's drawing, whether it's, you know, poetry, whether it's playing a sport. Like you can be creative at anything. Like what is it that you like to do? And then find a way to be creative. Even if it's at your job, find a way to be creative at your job. Like I think that it puts a intentional aspect of life back into your hands. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are creatives and they don't even know.
Yeah,
like you ever notice that? Like you're really good at like there was this one girl that I met like about a year and a half ago, and we used to work together, and she would just doodle on her like pen and pad and just like, oh, what are you doing? I thought she was like writing something. Like she created like a whole portrait on her notebook. You know what I mean?
Dang.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's just a way for her to express herself.
Yeah, see, but that's important.
Crazy.
That's important. If she, if she likes doing that, you know, doodling, it's like, who knows how far you can go with the things that you like to do. Who knows? But so many people don't. They just they kind of do it because they enjoy to do it, but don't really take it to that next level. Even if it's not like at the artist level, maybe there's many steps in between. I think that commitment of just saying that, hey, I'm gonna draw, you know, every day for 10 minutes a day, is a valuable process, because then a year later you don't know what not only drawing, your skill at drawing, how good I will get, but also the commitment to doing something every single day for a year. And that, like, there's something that happens when you are committed that gives you confidence. Like, it gives you a certain confidence about your life. And I think that's very important. I think it's something that's very important.
Yeah, I think it's healthy too.
Healthy for your life. Because I talk about this a lot. I think like the end goal, because so many people think that money is the end goal, or and that's kind of like the cliche, like money doesn't buy happiness. Well, you know what? If somebody gave me $100,000, I'd be happy as fuck. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that money doesn't buy happiness if you're not a happy person.
Yeah.
So I think that the goal in life, in my opinion, is to find what makes you happy, because that's the goal, is to be happy. So
yeah, because listen, like I think as you get older, you realize certain things about your life, certain resources are just tools. Like your cell phone, I use it more as a tool nowadays. Like, it's entertainment. Like, there's a lot that you can use this phone with. Like, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Apple Music, and it's all entertainment. But if you're too, like, Instagram, etc. But sometimes it's just like you get stuck in that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's dangerous, because then you start comparing yourself to like, damn, so how come I'm not there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you kind of stop living your life and start viewing others, and then you just kind of become like an observer, like we talked about. You know what I mean? And I think part of creating too is also about just living life. Like, live your life a little. Like, commit yourself to like having fun. Commit yourself to traveling. Doesn't have to be out of state. It can just be the next city over. Just commit to that and just have an experience. And then when you come back home, and then you just kind of think about that journey, you know, that like that trip you took to, like, I don't know, Joshua Tree. And you're like, oh shit, like, let me write about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Because I think we get stuck in this thing where like we have to create in order to get to that level. If we're basing it off of what we see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And I think a lot of people want to live the life that other people are living.
Oh, I see.
You get what I'm saying? And
yeah.
I think that's very dangerous.
Because 100%.
Because sometimes they may not even be having fun.
Like, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe they don't want to be at that pool party.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's very, very true. Or people that posting happy for a pic. Hey, this is my hubby. We're so in love.
Yeah.
Or this is my girl. We're so in love.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all for show. And that's a fucking weird thing these days. It's like the facade of being happy makes you happy. Or like, like people try to show the best of themselves. Maybe that's the ego or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually normal, but the other side of it is too, is like these people are probably having bad days as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're human beings. That's just normal. I take a 10-second break just to flip back on these cameras, and we'll pick back up. Sorry, man. These things only record for. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
All right, let me just press these again. Okay, I'm gonna do a clap. Yeah, so people just some people, I would imagine this is in particular for like Instagram models or, you know, people who are like displaying this life, that many of them are maybe going through like some depression or anxiety or things like that as well, because that's just kind of life, you know. Shit happens. But I think the point that I wanted to kind of like piggyback off something that you were saying, and damn it, I lost my thought. But we're talking about Instagram. We're talking about, you know, people actually, all of us get a dopamine hit in our brain.
Okay.
Whenever we get a like.
Oh, okay. I
So
can see that.
yeah, so literally there's something like a biological response whenever we get likes that's similar to I don't know, having an orgasm or like going to the gym and feeling real good.
Yeah.
It's literally when you get likes,
It's a boost.
it's a boost, a physical, biological boost, and that's dangerous. So, if you're just doing it all for the likes, that is.
Isn't it crazy too that it's a heart too?
Oh,
Instead of a thumbs up
no, it's a heart.
or a star, it's a heart.
It's a heart,
It's
dude.
crazy, huh?
It's a heart. What do you think that means?
I don't know. It can be a lot of things.
Love? They're giving you love?
Love, fake love.
Fake love.
You know what I mean? It can be anything.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy that it's a heart, but it's called a like.
The creators of.
It's kind of the irony of that. It's like it's called a like, but it's a heart. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that is. Well, Facebook has still the ability to like, right? Like it's just like a thumbs up.
Facebook still a thing?
Yeah.
I'm not on Facebook anymore.
No?
Nah.
Yeah, I'm still on Facebook.
Okay,
It's a great way for me to like share videos and like show my content. But outside of that, I don't really and I just like watching the content. It's really not other people. Like other people really don't post so much content on Facebook anymore.
Okay.
It's strange because again, I think a lot of people left it because of like advertising and things like that. Why did you leave Facebook?
Honestly, I left Facebook. It's gonna be like a minute now. When I moved to Brooklyn, because I moved to Brooklyn right after college, and I was teaching out there for about 2 years. And I didn't want any of my students to look me up, so I just deactivated everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because I broke my phone too. So
did you?
Some of my friends out here thought I was like missing or something like that.
Oh man.
So I was like,
dude, that's cool. I didn't know you went to Brooklyn.
Bro. Yeah, I was in Brooklyn for 2 years, bro.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What were you teaching?
English. And I was also teaching like a business development class.
Okay.
For, like, the freshman students.
Okay.
So it was pretty much just like a grammar, how to interact, the elevator speech, your pitch, etc. It was cool. I think it was very interactive.
Nice, man.
I was learning as they were learning too. I mean, you got to think about it. I was like 22, 23.
So these were high schoolers?
And these were high schoolers, so like 9th graders, like,
wow,
it's crazy. Like, they're going into like the next phase into their life. Yeah. And I'm entering the next phase, which is like my early 20s. So it was a cool experience, but it was also kind of scary. Yeah. Because I didn't feel like I had the knowledge to be in that position. You know what I'm saying? Like, how much knowledge can you have at 22?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? In comparison to the other educators. Yeah. Who are like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're doing it forever.
Wow. So how did you felt a little bit inadequate to be in that
position? I felt
position?
out of place. To a certain point, I felt out of place. But that's where the whole creativity came along. Like, you got to make it fun for yourself. Like, the lesson plans that I created, I feel like they're more interactive. And I kind of molded them in a way to, like, how college courses were done. You sit in a round circle, and you get in the middle, you talk, and you come back and sit back down.
Nice.
Or you debate, and you kind of do that type of thing, instead of just having the same old formula where everyone just sits.
Cool. So you were out there for 2 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you enjoy that experience? Did you ever like dip into Manhattan?
Yeah. I was in Brooklyn. I was living in Crown Heights. So I was on the border of Bed-Stuy. Okay. And so if you know the history, it's like Biggie was there at one point. Yeah. There's like all these murals. It's it's cool, crazy man. To just see that. Like, it was like the embodiment of hip hop in a way. Because then you go to the Bronx and you taste what they felt. You know what I mean? Like that smell, all the senses just come to you. Like any hip hop record from New York that you listen to as a kid, it comes to life. Wow. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Biggie was certainly is the legend of New York. Biggie was from Brooklyn, yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, I mean, there's murals and stuff out of them. I mean, he's like...
It's funny, too, because my roommate, he's from Brooklyn, too, at the time. And he would give me all these tours. He's like, that train station is blah, 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 blah. Like, he would just give me, like, an oral history. Wow. On, like, everything.
Yeah, New York's got a cool vibe, man. Like, you feel... The whole East Coast has, like a different vibe than the West Coast.
Oh, for sure.
Big time.
You feel it too.
You feel it, yeah. So I can understand what you're saying, and I can only imagine being in like Brooklyn and surrounded by these Biggie murals and people who have witnessed the Biggie experience, like firsthand, you know, that's you're interacting with people who have experienced the Biggie phenomenon.
Yeah,
which is cool because he'd be like freestyling on streets and things like that.
Yeah.
You
People
know,
knew who he was too.
Yeah.
You talk to like the older cats at the bodegas, and they don't call them liquor stores out there. They call them bodegas.
Bodegas.
Yeah. So you interact with the older heads, and they tell you, "Oh yeah, Biggie used to like walk around here with his mother, blah blah blah," just off of conversation. That's crazy.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Nas from Queens.
That was a different experience too. Like Queens is different, definitely. The vibe too.
Mm-hmm.
Just like every borough is crazy. Like because you know the history, and you're there, and then you're like, oh shit, like Tribe Called Quest is from Queens too, and like oh
yeah.
shit. You go to Manhattan, and then you just like, you read all these like articles. Like I don't know if you ever read like the Source magazine or XXL and all those hip hop magazines. And then I remember as a kid, I used to read them, and you see these photographs. You used to see like the next big artist. And you would hear about Rockefeller. And you see Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Like Marcy Projects. You know what I mean? And some of the students that I used to work with, like some of them were from Marcy Projects.
Oh wow.
So isn't that crazy? Like,
yes. Very crazy.
Yeah.
That you're surrounded by like the beginning of hip hop.
And as it's happening too. Like the next generation too.
Yeah, like who's out there right now that is like doing it big from like New York?
At the time, I remember Joey Badass was coming along too. This was like 2013, 2014.
Nice.
And I was putting on my friends out here on the West Coast. I was like, you gotta listen to Joey Badass.
Nice.
He's like, what? Who's that? Who the hell was that? And
yeah.
2-3 years later, like he's on tour.
Man, I love New York. It's. But only for a specific amount of time. I love LA. Like I've had an opportunity to travel to many different places, and I gotta say, like LA is the spot for me. I like it. I like it the most. I think it's a combination of just the right pace of city, and then also like if I want to go to the mountains and go hiking, or if I want to go to the beach, or if I want to go snowboarding or the desert, whatever it is. I think it's like the right geographical environment for me. New York is just pure city
everywhere.
Pure city, just everywhere. It's too much for me. It's too much for me. But I do like New York because I went with my buddy to visit Columbia Law School because he wanted to go to Columbia.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because Talib Kweli, his brother, is a professor at Columbia.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's right.
Columbia Law. So we went to go into that classroom and we're listening to Talib Kweli's brother teach law to Columbia students, and it was good. I don't remember too much. I mean, it was more for him. I was just kind of enjoying the experience or whatever. But then later we randomly go out to the meatpacking district.
Okay.
And then we like kind of just randomly go into this bar, this club, and then Talib Kweli is performing. So it's kind of like there's so much going on in New York. There's a lot of it's just the vibe there, and people are moving, man, and it's lively.
It's fast.
Yeah, it's lively. I like it.
It's cool. It's funny because when I was in Brooklyn, everything was getting gentrified. Like it was in the early development stages of it, and now that I'm here in like Echo Park, Silver Lake, all these areas, I feel like I lived this already.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing that the same phenomenon is happening over here now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just interesting how everything just kind of borrows off of everything else in the sense. You know what I mean? Like, you try to give something life to the streets of LA, and you take little inspirations from other pockets of the city or other pockets of America.
Yeah. Well, we're so intertwined now because of the internet that, I mean, it's just the ideas are free flowing. So people from the East Coast can see what's going on the West Coast, and people from the West Coast can see what's going on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And rap is a perfect example of that, like Biggie and Tupac's era. The internet wasn't so prevalent, but it was starting to come up for sure. And people from the West Coast were hearing what people were doing on the East Coast, and then, you know, vice versa. So it's interesting, to the intermingling of cultural, society, things. I don't know where I was going with this, but it's very it's an interesting thing to be able to share information, share ideas, and have other people feed off those ideas. For example, like one podcast that I watch a lot is Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
And he heavily influenced me to do a podcast.
Okay.
He heavily influenced me to do a podcast. Right. So I think this is very important. And this is something that, like what we were talking about earlier, is that not everybody is going to relate to me, but some people might be able to relate to you. And that's why this video will reach more people. It will reach more people. It will touch more people at a deeper level than I can ever do on my own. Because you're going to put things in a way that people resonate with and can understand more than I could, and vice versa. I will be able to do that with people more than you could. Some people are not going to be able to relate to you. So I think that I feel almost like a mediator of information that I'm able to relate with from people who are on a high level, somebody like a Joe Rogan, or, you know, any of the people that I have on my bookshelf right now, and be able to relate that to people who are not able to relate to very important ideas, very like genius motherfuckers. And I think that's very important. I think the internet is a vehicle for that information to be transferred. So it's talking about like intent. I think that's always been my intention. I enjoyed learning from people who are smarter than me, and then seeing that not only are they not this, I guess, esoteric person, esoteric figure, but they're just a person. And being able to take that information in and do some of the things in my life that they've also done, made it real for me. So I tried to do that for my family.
Yeah, it's definitely an ego check. You know what I mean? Like, you surround yourself by people who've maybe done more than you, whatever that means. You know what I mean? And you just kind of learn. I don't know. I've always been more of the introverted type of individual.
Yeah.
I like being to myself. I like reading. I like watching movies, writing, etc. But I also like going out and meeting new people when I want to, or I need to. Like, I have no fear in doing that. But I think you're the opposite, right? Like, you're like I gotta go out there. You know what I mean? And I think it's cool because two personalities like this is awesome to create, because it's a balance. You know? And that's what you want. You don't want, you know, you always look at like two positives never work together. It's always a positive and negative, right? Or two negatives never work together. Like, you look at magnets and they resist. And I think that's how you have to view life. You know, you have to kind of get the best of this, the best of that, the best of that, and just create something. If you want a product that's worth, like, people's not only time, but people's, like, you know, like, if they want to give you money for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's important. You can create.
I think so too.
You can create solo. That's cool. I think that's great. But you also have to look at how, like we talk about, like, what's your intent? Like, what do you want to do? Is this for your ego, or is this just to create a product for people to learn? You know, because it's for people to learn, then get a team and then do it. But it's for your own benefit to just be like, yo, I put this out. I did it by myself. Then you got to look at the reality of it. Like, and I think people get caught up with that. I think, and you see it a lot with, like, I think people in LA. I think everyone wants to be like famous. It's funny because there's this one dude. His name's Ferrari Shepard. He's like an artist. He like paints. He does like poetry. He does a lot of cool shit. And he used to work a lot with Kanye, Mos Def, all those cats. But his slogan is "Stop being famous." And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
That's powerful.
Yeah, man.
Because it's like, okay, what are you really here for?
Exactly.
Like, are you here to live? Are you here to live for others? Or are you here to just be like a placeholder?
Right. And it's just a dangerous time because I don't know what study this is from, but I heard this, that if you ask a young person, what do they want to be when they grow up? They say famous. And that's, whoa, hold up, pump the brakes. Like, you want to be famous? What do you want to be famous for? That's the real question. It's like, okay, so stop being famous. That is a brilliant way to look at life. It's like, because when you start doing things for other people, then you lose almost like the personal sovereignty, your personal sovereignty. And it's like, your personal sovereignty is what is going to get you famous in the first place. And not only that, fuck being famous, just being happy. Like, I mean, you obviously know this. That's why you write poetry, and that's why you like to create things. Is because when you're able to create things and express yourself, you're in your personal sovereignty. And I think people who step outside of their personal sovereignty to make a product to become famous that is simply for other people and not enjoyable to themselves, you lose. You fucking lose, man. 10 out of 10 times. The end goal, in my opinion, is to be happy. Okay, what's going to make you happy? Well, I think that looking inside yourself and knowing yourself is one of the first steps. You got to know what you enjoy, what you like to do. And since we're all people, we vary, but we also have a lot of many similarities. We're more alike than we are dissimilar. You know, we all have fears and we all have hopes and dreams. You know, we all want to be healthy and we all want to be happy. So I think that these are very important things to pursue. To pursue in life. And kind of just bringing it back to creativity, like you said, right, I think that every single person is a creative, and to be able to figure out what you enjoy doing and being creative at is, I think, just a wonderful feeling. But how does a person like even begin
or start
to know what they're good at, you know? And that's a weird question, but
yeah, that is weird. Well, I think because we get caught up in a routine.
Yeah.
You know?
And also too, like the Instagram stuff, it's like you see something, oh, Joe Rogan's doing a podcast, so I want to do a podcast too. But if that's not in your wheelhouse, you're gonna be fucked, man. You're gonna be totally fucked.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's, especially like we talked about New York and LA, everything's such a hustle and grind. Especially because you come to LA for one reason and you want to make it. You know, whatever that means to you. I think a perfect example. Have you ever seen that movie La La Land? I'm sure you have.
I haven't. Oh, no, it's a good movie.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it for two reasons. Because it's a perfect analogy to what's happening right now with young people. You know, like, do you pick the lifestyle, or do you pick the glory, or do you pick family? You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I mean, it's like
it's like a musical.
Really popular.
It's cool.
Really popular.
I stayed away from it when it first came out because I was like, just another movie. Like, everyone's talking about it, and I went to go see it. And the first time I saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep because I was just tired. But then I Redboxed it, and I was like, all right, cool. This makes sense.
Gotcha. And it touched you in a way that was like...
It touched me in a way where it was like... Because it's a love story, but it's also like a reality check. And like, when you watch it, we'll have a conversation about it.
Okay, sure, yeah. We'll come back. We'll do a La La Land podcast.
Part 2.
Part 2.
But yeah, it's crazy because everyone comes to LA, or they go to New York, or they go to these major cities. And it's like going to Disneyland for a lot of people. Have you noticed that from people who aren't from here? They come here like, oh, I need to go to Hollywood. I need to go to Santa Monica. I need to go here. I need to go there. And then after a while, it's like, cool. Like, for me, it's like I've always been in this area. So it doesn't really faze me anymore. It's cool to go to,
right?
you know, but I know I prefer going to like the mountains,
Right.
going for a hike or something.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man.
No.
Yeah, this is LA's one of the most pretentious spots ever
Yeah.
in the history of human existence.
Exactly. Yeah. And everything.
You know?
Yeah.
You know? So it's like kind of.
How do you navigate through that as an individual?
Man, I think it's like, okay, so say, and this is my thought process, and we'll wrap up like in about like 10 minutes here. We're already at 50 minutes. But I think like, say if you want to be an actor, I think first, like, you got to understand where is your strengths, like what is your natural inclinations to the things that you like to do in life. And if acting is something that you enjoy doing, like you enjoy the process, you like seeing the finished result, then I think coming to LA is the spot for you. But if you're just coming to be famous, man, there's no way I think that you can even navigate that. I think you're going to end up dead. I think you're going to end up ODing or some shit.
In the wrong pocket.
You're just going to, you're going to end up wrong. But for somebody who does like, and I'm just talking out of my ass because I'm not an actor and I don't have any experience in doing in this industry. But if you enjoy doing something, this is what I can talk about. If you enjoy doing something and acting is that, then yeah, you should come to LA. And how do you navigate that? Well, I think you just start, man. I think you do just come to LA. And I think that's why many people come to LA and they're a busser or they're a waiter or they drive Uber or doing something of the sort, because you first need to know what it is that you like to do. And then once you find out what it is that you like to do, practice that skill. And you got to go basically wherever the combination of that is of what you like to do. I think that's where you need to be.
Yeah, I think what's for you will always come back to you. You know what I mean? Like everything that's for you and everything that's meant for you will attach to your existence. I'll give an example. I'll put myself in an example. I started doing music when I was like a 6th grader, and I went to a very like artsy middle school. So they put you into like band or art or crafts or choir, etc. And then I did that all the way up until like my senior year of high school. And then I was done because it was just kind of like exhausting. I didn't want to do any more production. I didn't want to do any more singing, no more stage acts, none of that. Like I was tired of performing. And it was a nationally recognized choir. And we were on like on an Oprah Winfrey show at one point in Chicago, all this crazy stuff. And I was just exhausted. I was tired. And I was like, I'm out. And then I went to college. And I was like, I'm gonna be a lawyer one day. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Nothing remotely with entertainment or music or anything. I was just
at you.
I tapped out. I tapped out, bro. So I was like, all right, cool. And the career path towards becoming a lawyer was like didn't work out because I messed up around like my sophomore junior year in school. So I was like, I'm gonna be a teacher now. So I was like, I want to go and teach, and I did it. And then I just didn't feel like I was prepared enough to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like, I didn't feel like I was adequate. Like, I wasn't the right person to do that. So I came back. I was just broke. Came back to LA. I just wanted to do any kind of job. So anything that I knew at the time was, like, nonprofit work, education. And that was, like, my lane. And then that's funny because I reached out to, like, my homeboy who was, like, Chuck, who does music, too. And Lord, I think you know Lord, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I reached out to those guys, and I was like, hey, do you guys have, like, a job opening?
Yeah, he'll be on the podcast, too.
Yeah.
Soon.
Oh, word? All right, cool. He'll tell you the story, and then he'll be like, oh, bro, I don't know. Let me hit up my boy. So he hit up Chuck, and Chuck was like, hey, we're hiring for, like, a promotions team, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the hell that meant, but I needed a job. And working at CBS Radio seemed cool at the time.
Yeah.
And got the gig. And then I was just working from there, bro.
Crazy.
And then
Full
now
circle.
I'm kind of like more, but you see, the thing is like once you're in it, you know, kind of like what to stay away from, you know, and then you kind of know your intent. And one of the quotes that I like from Dame Dash, one of the founders of like Rockefeller and like started everything up with Jay-Z, he said, hustle for your last name, not your first. You know, I think that's cool, because then that's what you know. Like, are you building a foundation? You're building your legacy. You're building your family up.
Yeah.
If you do it for family first, that's where you gotta go. You know what I mean? And I like what I'm doing right now. I enjoy what I'm doing, but I know I don't want to do it forever. You know, like at one point I just want to retire and go back to teaching.
Nice.
You know, like when I'm in my 40s or 50s or something.
Yeah. It's more, would you say it's more like a more simpler life, or is it something that you just enjoy doing?
I think I enjoy doing it. I don't know, simple, because it's still stressful.
Yeah.
You know, but you gotta enjoy what you're doing. And when I was teaching, I enjoyed like every aspect of it. It was exhausting. Like my hours were from 7 a.m. to like 8 p.m.
Wow.
You know, so it's definitely exhausting.
Yeah. Okay, but you
But I enjoyed it. Now it's different. Now it's more about like me, you know, and what I can do for myself, and I kind of want to teach others how to do it for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the A&R thing comes into my life right now. Like I'm working with an artist right now, and she's like, she's a poet, and we're developing kind of like records for her to like see how it tests the waters and see how it goes. By no means like do I feel like I'm an expert, but I'm surrounded by people who know the industry. Like, cause you got to think about it. Like, when you're surrounded with people like Frankie Ross, who's like one of my mentors. Like, he used to manage like Bobby Brown at one point, and A&R like a couple of his like first projects, and he just tells you all these stories from like the 80s and the 90s, and it's exciting, man. It's really exciting. Yeah. But he tells you like, just be careful. He always says that at the end of every conversation we have.
Be careful for what?
Just be careful. Just like, don't get caught up in like the BS. You know, like, do it for yourself. Don't do it because you want to be famous. Don't do it because like you think this is what's gonna make people like you.
Oh God.
You know what I mean?
That
Do
makes
it.
so much
do it
sense,
because you want to have fun doing it. Because he's like, when I did it, I had so much fun.
Yeah.
And then he's like, now I'm out. Now he just sits in the studio, like
Gotcha.
he tracks his voice, like he's on the wave from 7 to 10 every night.
Yeah.
You know, just chilling, and he's cool with that.
Yeah.
And that's how I want to go out.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
Be like, I did it. I had fun doing it. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I had fun doing it.
Yeah.
And if money comes along with it, like, think about it this way. Like, if you have fun doing something, there's no need for money. Money is just like a tool for you to survive.
Right.
You know, as long as if you have fun, like working like at a restaurant, you know, and you're happy with that, then that's cool. Or you're happy like working at a store, or like you're happy freelancing. Like, as long as you're happy, money is just like secondary. Not even secondary, because then it's like, you know, it's like it's something that you have in your toolbox.
Right.
That in case you need something.
Right.
That's how I see it. I'm not at that point yet, you know, because obviously like I'm still kind of living paycheck to paycheck with certain aspects of my life, but I'm learning how to like get different ways of like monetizing something, so to say. You know what I mean? Finding different avenues of how to get my money.
I know what you mean.
And I think that's very important, because if you can do that for yourself and you can teach others, then that's how you build your empire.
Yeah. Dude, that's wonderful, dude. Let's end on that.
Let's do it.
Dude, Maynor, thanks. I appreciate it, brother.
That was just fun. Thank you. Thank you, bro.
Awesome.